Many of us are coming back onto campus this year, having heard a lot about ChatGPT and the other generative AI chatbots. These are the AI tools that have sort of saturated the internet and seem to be multiplying daily. In order to just get a grasp of how these AI tools are going to impact higher ed, and it's really not something we can predict right now, but just to give you a taste of what these tools are, what they do, and some of the great strengths of these tools, some of the things about these tools that aren't great, and then some things about these tools that have to give us as educators concern. I have this little video that I'm putting together just to show you and give you an idea of, as I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly of ChatGPT and generative AI chatbots. So when I say generative AI chatbots, what I'm saying is artificially intelligent tools that have been created to generate or produce things, for lack of a better word. They produce documents, letters, business plans, outlines, charts and tables, computer code. So these tools create things. They're not just web browsers, although they are very helpful in some cases for browsing the internet. The one that you probably have heard the most about is the first one to come out, ChatGPT, that was launched by OpenAI. And while it is plagued with some problems I'm sure you've heard about that we'll go over, it's also probably still the most powerful AI tool that is out there as far as the chatbots go. But there are also a bunch of others that are available right now. Perplexity is available for free and you don't need a login. You can just visit the Perplexity site and type in a question. Claude is another really popular tool. Bard, that's Google's tool. And by the way, Google also has integrated their AI chatbot right into Google Docs and Google Gmail, etc. Elicit is a tool that is more focused on creating research materials. And there are some others, new ones are sort of popping up every day, but just so you're familiar with those names of those tools to get you started. So to get us started in this video, I'm going to go over 5 ways AI can be really helpful with some of the more tedious tasks that we have at work. And the first tedious task is email. Almost everyone thinks of email as something laborious that takes a lot of time, but absolutely needs to be managed. So Gmail has already gone ahead and integrated AI into their Gmail program. Microsoft is rolling out the same function with Outlook, although it isn't universally available yet. So here you can see I've opened Gmail, clicked Compose, and I have the Compose message screen open. And here is a button that says Help Me Write. If I click on that button, I can tell the AI what I want to write. And you can see that there are some flashing suggestions right here, and I'm going to write directions for the AI to tell a student I will accept a late paper. And now I'm just going to hit create, and it's going to generate an email message for me. And you can see that it has created the email, and now I can just, because I'm in Gmail, I can click insert, I can personalize it and send it off. So that is how we can expect to see AI integrated into our email as it already is in the case of Gmail. A second way that AI is really helpful is that it can perform very specific targeted web searches, scan the results for you, and deliver just the information you're looking for so you don't have to browse through 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or a million Google results. So here I'm using Claude, which is one of the popular AI chatbots that's out there, and I'm going to ask Claude to generate a list of autistic individuals who've impacted the business community. So maybe you're looking for ideas about stories you can share for your course curriculum. This is a sort of a specialized web search. So I'm just sending the request or the prompt, and you can see that I get a list that's generated pretty quickly. Now I could choose any one of those people and ask for some expanded information. So I might say, has Daryl Hannah discussed how her So I'm going to just go ahead and ask that question, and then I get more information, expands on that. So you can keep going, keep asking the AI's questions, ask for more and more information. So that's how we can use the AIs for these very targeted internet searches. Now I'm in Bard, which is Google's AI, and I'm just going to quickly demonstrate one of my favorite uses for the AIs, and that's to get very specific tech support. You might have taken a course or used a tool and forgotten something about it. This happened to me recently when I was trying to remember how to format a quiz that I wrote for Moodle. So these AIs have a great deal of knowledge of how different computer programs work, and so that you can see that it is telling me how to go ahead and format, and I can follow that format, the Aiken format, in order to create a Moodle quiz. So that's another really helpful use. My fourth favorite time saver is to ask the AI tools to explain something in simpler terms. You might hear about something and you're working on the fly, you'd like to know more, and this is an easy way to get information broken down. It's also a great way to scaffold information for your students. So, for example, if you're trying to explain to them somewhat of a complicated topic, you can start by asking the tool to break it down in simpler terms, explain it that way, and then start filling in more advanced information. So here I'm asking Perplexity to explain cryptocurrency to me in simple terms. And it's breaking it down. And I'm going to go ahead and ask it to simplify even more. And you can see that it will continue. So you can ask and prompt and have these chats. That's the whole reason that we call these tools chatbots, because they allow us to interact with them and keep pushing them to get more of what we want from them. And the last task that I'm going to go over in this video, one of the strengths of these AIs, is that we can use them as brainstorming resources. So, for example, I might be looking for an activity that I can use in my class to illustrate a concept, and I can ask one of these tools to help me think of ideas. So in this case, I'm going to use the old, not the old, but the original, I should say, ChatGPT to ask this question. So I like to, whenever possible, use active learning in the class, but sometimes it's hard to think of ways to reinforce ideas. So here I've asked for an in-class activity for college students to help them understand confirmation bias. So you can see here that very quickly the AI has come up with an example. And it's given me the objective, it's told me what kind of materials I'll need, what the actual steps are to execute it, etc. So it gives me very quickly an idea that I can customize for my own class, but it's really helpful as a brainstorming tool. So those are 5 ways that these AI chatbots can help us with our work in higher education as instructors and as support staff. Next, I'm going to discuss some of the bad. So that was the good. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the bad, and then even some of the uglier issues that we have to deal with when we're thinking about these tools. When it comes to the bad with ChatGPT and the generative AI chatbots, here from an academic education perspective, and not looking at ethics, just sort of looking at practicalities, there are 2 or 3 bad things about the generative AI. The first is that it hallucinates. And by hallucinates, I mean that it invents information sometimes. So you might put a prompt in asking for the tool to find some very specific information, and it may fabricate that information. The developers of these tools are trying to sort of figure out why that happens and figure out how to keep that from happening. But this is related to the second bad issue or problem, and that is that usually most of these AI tools do not give you references for where they find the information. So I'll give you a look at that. So here I've typed in the prompt, what are the investment advantages of Bitcoin? And you can see it's giving me a lot of information here. However, there's no indication of where that material has come from. So I don't know for certain if ChatGPT is accurate here. So that is a concern, this idea that ChatGPT can make up information and that it doesn't give us a trail or references is one of the, or 2 of the bad aspects of these tools. The tool Perplexity is a little different. They do provide references, so I can ask the same question. And you'll notice that in the case of Perplexity, it shows at the top where it's getting the information. It's showing you the websites where it's drawn information. And then within the results, there are buttons that will link directly to where they found the material. So if you're worried about accuracy of material and information, the Perplexity tool does allow for you to be able to check it. Now, these are concerns about using these tools, and there are some other strategies in addition to more of the tools are rolling out citation, and there is a tool, Elicit, that specifically looks at research papers. So it is completely possible to find good sources and good information. This is one of the concerns that we need to have, and we need to teach our students about AI. From the higher ed perspective, the ugly about ChatGPT and the chatbots is that they enable students to cheat very easily. In other words, these tools are going to make it very difficult for us to assess our students in the same manner that we've been assessing them for a very long time, and this change is coming about very quickly. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how the tool could be misused. So here I have a practice cell quiz, a quiz on cell reproduction. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the Control-All function. Control-All to select all here. I'm on a PC. And then I'm going to copy. So I've copied this entire quiz. And I just wanted to mention that even if this were a piece of paper that you distributed, these tools can all, or most of them, can read handwriting. They can read, printouts and copies of things. They can translate them into text. So whether it's a physical copy or a digital copy, it's pretty easy for anyone who wants to get around that barrier. So again, I've copied the quiz. It's a multiple choice quiz. And now I'm going to go over here to ChatGPT, and I'm just going to say, please answer these multiple, can you spell that right? Questions. I'm not even going to worry about the spelling because it doesn't. And now I'm just hitting paste, and I've pasted the whole quiz right into ChatGPT, and then I'll hit the prompt button. And so I have put the quiz in, and down here, as you can see, it's just answering the questions that have been asked. So, as far as traditional, typical multiple choice type questions go, that's fairly problematic. Application type problems, where we ask students to apply concepts to scenarios, are also can be answered by these tools. Here's a sample. How might Freud and Piaget disagree over the reasons a 6-year-old boy misbehaves at circle time in kindergarten? So this is a very applied kind of question. I'm asking a student to compare and contrast 2 points of view and apply it to a specific scenario. And so it's going to go into Freud's stages, and then why Freud might argue the child's misbehaving. And then it'll go and do the same thing for Piaget. So these are fairly complex kinds of questions that are fairly easily answered by the tool. And so we're going to have to be thinking about that when we're designing questions to assess our students. Also, these tools have the capacity to generate whole texts. So I'm going to actually paste in the prompt for a paper that I typically assigned in Comp 1. And notice that in this case, the paper asks the students to use a specific article from the Atlantic Monthly, and that article is behind a paywall. And so they have to have they would have to, they get it through the college, but my point is that the AI is able to overcome that paywall and actually use this specific article. So my prompt is, please write a 1,000-word academic essay in response to the question, why are American teenagers so sad? Use the Atlantic Monthly article of the same name by Derek Thompson. It is going to just go find that article. Cite specific facts and data. In the first body paragraph, summarize Thompson's claims. In the following paragraphs, build a claim using Thompson's strongest point. So here I have the paper. Here are the sources that it used in creating the paper, including, as you can see here, the Atlantic. It's written an introduction. It's summarized the claims. It's added in this, some headings and things that I would delete if I were a student. And then right now it doesn't have any citations in it. But if I ask it to, it's going to go ahead and do that. So you can see here, although it looks to me like it's using APA instead of MLA. So, but you can get a feeling from this of how problematic this kind of capability. Remember, the tool I'm using right now, Perplexity, doesn't even require a login. You can just visit the page and use the tool. So these, this is sort of the more challenging side of these AI tools, because now we are going to have to think about how to navigate an educational landscape with these tools in it. I know a lot of you are probably thinking about AI detection tools, and already, for the most part, these tools have failed. OpenAI pulled back their own tool. It is built in, there is an AI detector built in to Turnitin. Our problem is that these tools are just not reliable. There are a lot of false positives, and those false positives have led to many legal actions where students have sued for being falsely accused and sort of having their whole academic life messed up. Say one of the challenges that has been discussed in the forums on this topic is, well, if you have the paper, AI write the paper, you could just take that paper and rephrase it yourself. Manually rewrite the paper in technically your own words, and then how would AI detect it? And it's further complicated by the idea that Grammarly uses AI. It's now built into Google Docs, and it's coming very soon to Word. So this idea of sort of trying to catch it, just using a detector, is probably not going to help. We advise the same thing that we advise about plagiarism, which is if you're suspicious, have a conversation with the student. Ask them, why did you think of this point? What else did you want to write about but you didn't? Usually a conversation will help you realize how thoroughly the student understands their work. But these tools, I don't want to end on a terrible note, I think that the challenge that these tools present to us is to think about other ways that we can get assess our students' learning really meaningful and authentic ways. And actually, we were already moving in that direction. We've already been moving towards trying to find ways to look at what students know and prioritize what it is that students know. We may be having a lot more conversations with our students. But I hope that you have found this video helpful in just sort of giving you an overview of both the tools' incredible capacity to help all of us, our students, us, ourselves, in our work, some of the things we need to be concerned about, and then some of the real deep concerns when it comes to plagiarism, etc.